Can you hear me at the back? Yep, okay, thanks. So, my name is Pushpit Kohli, and I'm going to talk about personality and patterns of Facebook usage. This is joint work with Yoram Bakrach, Mihal Kosinski, Thora Grapel, and David Stilwell. So, Yoram and Thora and me are part of the machine learning group at Microsoft Research Cambridge, and Mihal and David are from the Psychometric Center at University of Cambridge. So now you could ask the question why three machine learning scientists were interested in sort of personality. So yeah, that's a very valid question to ask, and this is why. So suppose you are trying to you're trying to train a machine learning system, which is say for text retrieval, say Bing or Google. A user comes to Bing and says, can you tell me some hotels in Spain? Right? So now if I come to you and ask you, can you suggest some hotels in Spain? You might sort of think about what sort of things I would like, right? There's a huge variation of choice in terms of hotels in Spain, right? There could be hotels in Barcelona, there could be hotels in the Pyrenees, there could be hotels in a beach resort, right? So you don't have a clue, right? You will just say, I don't know. I mean, there are some hotels in Spain. I don't know which one you would sort of prefer. But if you know something about me, right, that maybe I'm outgoing or I'm curious or maybe I'm sort of reserved, then you would think, oh, this guy probably wants to go cycling in the Pyrenees, right? Or if he really wants to go for partying, he's an extrovert, then he probably wants to go to Barcelona, right? So it's essentially if you can infer something about the personality of the person who is trying to ask you this question, then your answers would be much better, right? And that is essentially the motivation for us sort of in getting interested into this topic, right? We want to understand user behavior, user preferences, and personality sort of probably plays a big part in that. So I just told you about one particular application, which is information retrieval, right? But there are many other applications. For example, you can do content selection mechanisms. Say eBay is interested in what sort of things a person might be interested in, or Amazon might be interested in sort of selling a particular type of stuff if they know what sort of personality you have. And then this is a general trend for advertisers and marketing professionals, right? They have been using personality to position products and services to particular individuals and product and consumer groups, right? So that is all very well known, right? So there's a long history of work in this direction. So now this is the first question I have asked because I'm from a machine learning background and I had never sort of taken a personality test. So how do you measure personality, right? And the conventional, the sort of the most popular way of measuring personality is the 5-factor personality model, the Big Five. It's in order to sort of learn it, it has this abbreviation OCEAN. So openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Right? These are the 5 factors, 5 traits that sort of describe a person's personality. So what do these 5 traits generally mean? So by openness, we mean sort of a person who has an appreciation for art, is really emotional, loves adventure, unusual ideas, and so on. Right? A conscientious person is efficient, is organized, has a tendency to show self-discipline, is very careful, acts dutifully, and so on. Right? And extrovert, we all know what that is, right? That is something from mainstream. Now, yeah, and energetic, positive emotions, outgoing, and so on, not shy. Agreeable person is friendly, compassionate, and is cooperative. And people who are neurotic have a tendency to experience unpleasant emotions easily, such as anger, anxiety. Right. So these are sort of the 5 traits that with which you can sort of describe a person's personality. Okay. So why are we using this? Well, this has been used in a lot of psychological literature. It has proved predictive validity in terms of describing how people behave. It's compatible with earlier knowledge in social sciences and marketing. And these are understandable dimensions after all, right? We all know what an introvert is versus what an extrovert is. Right? So, so that background aside, so the first question you can ask is, can you infer personality of someone from just looking at their Facebook usage or just their profile, right? And we are not the first people to sort of ask that question. In fact, this is a very interesting question, and many people sort of have tried to ask the question. So, in fact, there have been a number of studies where researchers have shown that people use Facebook profiles for deciding whether to date someone or for assessing job candidates, right? So this is already done. But you can sort of ask the question, well, is that really true? Can they really make good assessments? Maybe they just sort of look at the profiles and get such garbage out of it, right? They don't actually make good assessments. They just want to convince themselves that they saw something, they analyzed something, and they didn't get it. But in fact, there have been studies that yes, people can make accurate assessments, right? So there is work by Evans and Gosling and others who have shown that actually people are able to make accurate assessments of personality, and this is not the assessment of personality that the user is trying to portray, right? Because on Facebook, people try to portray a particular type of personality, but even the correct personality of the user, in some sense. So you can now ask the question, can computers do it, right? Humans can do it, can computers do this sort of stuff? So there has been a lot of related work on this topic, and people have tried to understand the correlations between user personality and Facebook profiles. So most of this work has focused on a small set of people, mostly students, where you see how does the personality of these student groups sort of is affected by the number of friends, is correlated with the number of groups, and so on. This is work done by Ross and others. And then people have also used actual Facebook use rather than just self-reported Facebook use with a larger set of students. And then people have also tried to sort of predict the personality given these Facebook attributes. So the common sort of theme with all these sort of studies is the limited number of subjects, only 200, like 150, 200 sort of subjects, right? And we all know that a person, say from a remote village in South Africa or India or China, would not have the same personality or the same behavior as a student, say, in Northwestern, right? And this is a well-studied sort of thing. The lab environment has these limitations. It has small scale. It is expensive to sort of conduct. It's time-consuming, and then you get subject biases, right? Because you have a small set of subjects which have been selected in a particular sort of way. So what we want to do is go beyond the lab environment and really go into the online crowd, right? And I hope you can see these are people. And yes, it was taken in India. We have a lot of people there. Okay, so how do we get data for so many people? So in 2007, there were two students. In fact, there was one student, David Stilwell, first, and then Michal Konstantsky sort of joined him. They had a computer science background, and they were just starting their PhDs in psychology, and they said, wouldn't it be fun to sort of upload a psychometric test on Facebook, right, so that people can sort of take this test? And in fact, there were a number of testing websites which people were using, and they were getting, say, 100 or 1,000 users from time to time. So the expectation was that they will get 100 or maybe 1,000, and they would be happy, and they would use that for their own research, right? And now, just brace yourself. They have now got more than 6 million tests, and it's not even biased. It's like it has 50% females, which is sort of stable with it's sort of proportional to the number of females that you get in the Facebook study, and the mean age is 24.15 with a standard deviation of 8, right? So this is such a large data set which they were sort of able to collect. So we use this data set for our study. So there are a number of benefits of doing research on Facebook. So the traditional, as sort of Daniel pointed out, the traditional setting where you have a handful of subjects in the lab, it is an artificial setting, and then of course you have this weird bias which has been sort of specified by Henrik and others in the Nature 2010 paper. With Facebook, you have access to 800 million subjects, and they are in their natural environment, and they are from all over the world, right? So it's not just from one particular university or one particular age group or so on, right? So what was the data that we used? So we used a subsample of the data. We used 180,000 users, and these are the 6 sort of profile features that we tried to analyze. The number of their friends, the number of the groups that these people sort of joined, the number of likes, so how many times they liked something, right, or how many concepts did they like, the number of photos they uploaded, the number of sort of status messages, and how many times they were tagged by other users in different photographs, right? So these were the sort of 6 profile features that we used for these users. And for visualization, I will just give you a sense of what we uncovered. I'll try to visualize it, to visualize the data according to these cluster scatter plots. Essentially, what we did is we sorted all the users on the basis of the feature responses, and then divided them into 10 equal groups, and each group has, say, thousands of users now, and essentially just plotted the mean strength of the personality trait. So for openness to experience, so for the openness trait, you see that as the number of likes increases, the openness level increases, right? So this is the first sort of visualization that you get. Okay. Now this is how openness sort of changes as the number of status updates changes, and again you see a general trend which is positive, right? And then we can do the same thing for the number of groups that these users have joined, and again there's a positive correlation. Now I can basically spend a whole lot of time going through all the sort of graphs that we have in the paper, but because of lack of time, I'll just give you a summary of our key results. So we did a correlation analysis between the strength of the trait and the strength of the feature, right, in terms of likes. And we saw that openness is positively correlated with the likes, with the number of status messages, with the number of groups the user has joined. Conscientiousness is negatively correlated with the number of likes and the number of groups, but it's positively correlated with the photos. Now, we have certain conjectures of how this is true, because our co-authors, Nihal and David, are both psychometricians, so they have a good sense of why this is true. They can sort of explain this away, but I am a machine learning person, so I will not basically go into making these conjectures. We just analyze the data, and the psychometricians will tell us that these are valid sort of hypotheses in some sense. So with extroversion, yes, it's correlated as expected with the number of status messages, with the number of likes, with the number of groups the person has joined, with the number of friends, right? This is all basic stuff. You would expect that. And so on, right? With agreeableness, yes. Now, here's an interesting thing. With agreeableness, it's negatively correlated with likes. Now, this is, there's a strange sort of explanation for this, but I'm not going to go into explaining why this is sort of true. And neuroticism, of course, it's negatively correlated with friends and positively correlated with likes. Okay, so that was all about just correlation analysis, and all those sort of results were statistically significant. Now we asked the question, can we automatically predict these personality traits given the features? So given the features of these profile features, can we now predict personality traits? So we just did a very simple multivariate regression, and we show the result of tenfold cross-validation on 5,000 individuals. And you can see that we are successfully able to sort of predict openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, and neuroticism. But for agreeableness, it's sort of hard to predict, right? So this was essentially the result of our analysis in this part of the paper. Okay, so that was all about the paper. Now there is another related work. So a poster that we are going to present in the evening session, and which was personality and actual website choice, or what sort of concept have people liked. So we also have this data about what sort of things people have liked, and we also know their personality. So now we can ask the question, tell me, for a particular personality, what sort of things a person would like, or for a particular concept, say Apple or say Coca-Cola or say Pepsi, what is the average personality of the people which have liked that concept? So here's a quiz now for you. How many of you know Netflix? Almost all of you, right? That's well known. How many of you know Pirate Bay? Okay, that's expected. So for the people who don't know Pirate Bay, it's sort of a website where you can illegally download games and movies, right? So now here's a quiz. So we are trying to predict which of which audience, the people who like Netflix and the people who like Pirate Bay, which would be more cautious and which would be more curious and so on, right? So there is no sort of signal in the secure setting, right? Both of them are relatively secure. I don't know for what reason, but here's a quiz. How many of you think Netflix users are more cautious or are more curious than Pirate Bay? Cautious or curious? Are Netflix users, people who like Netflix, more cautious or more curious? Cautious? Well done, right? They are more cautious, right? Red is more cautious and the Pirate Bay are more curious. Careless and organized. Which is careless? Pirate Bay careless, Netflix organized, yeah? Shy and outgoing. There's no signal. Both of them are outgoing, right? Because they're watching movies. But which is more outgoing in some sense? Okay, Pirate Bay are more outgoing in some sense. And cooperative and competitive. Which are more cooperative and which are more competitive? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, yeah, we can do the same sort of analysis over gender and age. So, age, young, old? Young. Pirate Bay is young, and then male, female. Of course, we like only males can do Pirate Bay stuff. so females can do that as well. But so now this was just a sample of what sort of data we can get from this analysis. Here's another fun fact for you. So you can now plot the personality and the different age groups and gender for the different universities in the US, and you can see, well, Cornell, for some strange reason, is not curious at all compared to UCLA and MIT, which is somehow surprising. And in terms of age, somehow Harvard has a tendency to be liked by quite old people. Yeah, and then MIT is predominantly male. Here again, so I mean you could get tons and tons of these very interesting sort of stats. And all this data is available because of this website that David and Mihal had sort of developed in 2007. So yeah, that was sort of the results. And so we also categorized the different websites into using our classifier, which sort of classifies it into different categories. And so you can see that categories, concepts which are categorized into education sort of correlate well with conscientiousness, with agreeableness, and so on. Extroversion is again people who like the internet or arts and music. They are more outgoing and active, and so on, right? You can also we also have this sort of analysis. So now let's come to the limitations of this study. So I started. I motivated the use of this data by saying that previous studies had used few students studying in a particular set of universities. There's a huge subject bias. Does it go away? Well, not really. It doesn't go away because how many of you have taken a personality test, right? Okay, significant numbers, but not all, right? So there is a self-selection bias in we only have data for people who have taken this particular personality test, and not everyone takes those personality tests. So that is a limitation of the study. So the subject bias doesn't go away completely. And sometimes users are just exploring. In fact, they will go to the website and say, okay, let's see what happens if I answer this question like this, right? They're just trying to guess in some sense. They're trying to see what would their personality be if they answered this question in this way, right? So there's also this noise being injected from this sort of source. Now, those were the limitations. Now, there are very big implications. The first big implication is for personalization. Personality, if you can sort of predict personality using these features, you can do a lot of stuff. You can basically personalize a lot of services on the web. And that is one implication. But the real big implication is in privacy, right? Now there are systems which can use this data and predict somebody's personality. Now, are users aware of this? Now that's a question to be discussed, right? And what are the implications of privacy? How do you make sure that people understand the implications of sharing this data everywhere? Because it's not that they are just mentioning their status updates, but they're also giving away something else. And this is sort of true from John Kleinberg's talk, because I mean the lawyers and the judges, by the use of the grammar or the sentences that they were using while making these in the court cases, they were giving away very vital information about what would be the outcome of the case. Now, the lawyers and judges would not have guessed that John would basically do the analysis and could basically predict which way the case would go, right? But the same is true in these sort of cases. Now, so that is the end, but I will do one last bit of personalization and targeted advertising, which is if you are interested in a PhD position in the intersection of machine learning, psychometrics, and social networks, then there is a position in Cambridge between University of Cambridge and Microsoft Research Cambridge, and you should contact us if you're interested. So thanks for listening, and if you have questions, I would be happy to take them.